yet another revision stream. So, I don't know what to do today, to be totally honest with you. Haven't had a chemistry lesson today, so I can't really do that. So I'm thinking we'll do biology and then maybe a bit of math. I really want to do direct and inverse proportion, but I'd have to go get my MacBook for that, and I don't know where it is, so maybe we'll leave that for another day. But yeah, guys, 8 days of these revision streams. If you have found any of these helpful, feel free to let me know. But also, if you guys want access to the Google document, please let me know as well. For those unaware, the Google Doc has every single topic I've covered in these streams, along with links to each stream where I go through it. So it also has exam question prompts and things like that. So if you guys want a kind of catalogue of revision, go to that, because I personally, I've tried to make it as good as possible. Think I've done a solid job. Anyways, let's go recap. Let's just go do some biology, right? We'll start off with infection and response, which I would argue is my favourite topic in biology. So obviously, infection is caused by pathogens. Pathogens can be things like bacteria, virus, fungi, or I guess the main ones are like bacteria, virus, and protists. Now, you need to know quite a lot for infection and response. You need to know the immune system. You need to, well, for higher at least, you need to know monoclonal antibodies. And you also need to know vaccination, which means this stream is about to get struck down. So let's try and make this as factual as possible. Where's my whiteboard rubber at? There it is. So while I'm kind of plotting this out, let me know how are you guys getting on with revision? Are you doing any? If not, fair enough. If you are, fair enough. Look, at the end of the day, all you need is like a 4 to pass. Getting anything above that, it will look good. You'll be able to take more things in A-level or whatever. But seriously, if you guys feel so unconfident with these exams, which I'm sure not many of you do, I feel like a lot of you guys, especially people who are like my Instagram followers or people who are sub-tier, I feel like most of you guys could get 6s, 7s, maybe 8s or 9s. Because seriously, a lot of you are smart. So seriously, I mean this with full wholeheartedness. You guys got this. It's obviously going to be quite a tough couple of weeks, but I really feel like it's going to be good. Well, we're going to obviously try our best, and hopefully, if you guys have done revision, I'll put in the effort, you'll reap the rewards. Anyways, let's get on with this. So, let's first go through. We have, I'm going to draw it like this. Phagocytes. And phagocytes, they engulf pathogens. So this is our little baby bacteria there. It quite literally like eats it up, right? That's phagocyte. And that process where it kind of engulfs it is called phagocytosis. So you can imagine how bloody terrifying that would be, being a bacteria, just getting slowly engulfed. That would be horrendous. But yeah, that's a phagocyte. Phagocytes engulf pathogens, and I guess they reabsorb the materials of the pathogen. Lymphocytes do quite a lot of things, and I'm not sure what they would look like, so we'll just draw kind of a couple of blobs. So lymphocytes, remember these are white blood cells, part of the immune system. Lymphocytes can do a couple of things. Number one, they can deploy antibodies which directly target the cell, and I believe what these antibodies do is they'll lock on to the cell in a way and make it more obvious to the phagocyte that it needs to engulf it. So in a way, it's kind of like marking it, you know, like bloody Fortnite or whatever. You tag your enemy, so you make them more obvious. But what they'll also do is they'll do bloody antitoxins. So you know how bacteria release toxins, things that make you ill. They secrete toxins. Well, these guys will also shoot. Obviously not. They will release antitoxins which bind with the toxin and make it ineffective. So you need to talk about binding there. But yeah, it binds with the toxin and makes it ineffective. So maybe for the first couple of days, it'll only be the phagocytes that kind of respond, but after a couple of days, lymphocytes will start kicking into full gear and you won't feel symptoms as much. Now, the important thing to remember with lymphocytes is they require a very specific, I guess, link in order to be effective. So if this is our bacteria, if they deploy antibodies, the antibodies won't really have an effect. Like they won't because I think what antibodies do kind of as well is they just disable it in a way, disable the bacteria. So anyways, that's our bacteria. So if, for example, this bacteria is like in a certain thing or whatever, this lymphocyte needs to find the right antibodies to use against it. And that could take many days or even weeks, or it might never happen. And when you have defeated this pathogen, memory lymphocytes are created, and these allow, next time you get infected, these allow for those correct antibodies to be deployed right away. So imagine it like this. Imagine you have like a huge ass library and each one of the books has thousands of pages and you're told, alright, your whole family is going to die if you don't find this specific letter in a specific book. You're going to be going through each one quick as hell. That's what lymphocytes have to do. They might find it right away. They might find the right thing, the right antibody, and be able to disarm it right away. Or it may take them ages. You also have to remember, of course, that memory cells then will have that correct antibody, the correct, I guess, formulation for it, so that next time lymphocytes can find it easier. So I guess like if we use now a library metaphor, it like kind of highlights it. So that's the white blood cells. Now let's talk about vaccination. So when you get vaccinated, like the COVID vaccine, a weakened or dormant version of the virus or bacteria, we'll just say pathogen, a weakened version is put in to your body. It will, of course, begin to attack. It will release toxins. It will stimulate the immune system. It will trigger it. Your immune system is then like, oi, piss off, and then it kind of does its thing. It'll engulf them. But the main thing is that it will then release antibodies that will match on and it will kill it. So, now that you have those antibodies, memory cells are created, memory lymphocytes, they'll go do whatever. Then next time you get infected with actual COVID, those memory cells will then be able to be deployed right away. The antibodies will be deployed right away, and it will be able to kill that pathogen way quicker, which is why vaccines are so important. Herd immunity is another thing. If we have a population of if we have a population of 25 people, alright, and then let's say that one of them becomes infected, but let's say that maybe all of these guys over here are vaccinated, then it's likely going to reduce the spread of the disease to all of these other people. So maybe only this one or this one gets infected. But if all the other people are vaccinated, then some who aren't vaccinated, like these guys over here, they'll be fine because the majority of the population is vaccinated. Think of it a bit like a chart in a way, right? So we have like time and infection. So we can imagine here that to begin with, it's going to rise pretty exponentially. It's going to grow. But the more vaccinations you get, that means that it's going to start to kind of level off a little here. So let's say this is the time where the vaccines are deployed. Yeah, it's still going up a little bit because not everyone can be vaccinated. Like maybe people with cancer, I guess people with like HIV, people with weak immune systems, pregnant people maybe. Not everyone can get infected, so it is still going to go up. But the fact that the majority of the population has been vaccinated means that you have reduced that curve a lot. Which is what everyone was cracking on about with COVID. If you guys remember, the COVID graph was a bit like this. So it kind of went up, and then all of a sudden it spiked, and then it began to rise more and more. If you can get a vaccine by like that point, or even I guess this point, or even there, a bit like a stock market, you're kind of buying low here. If you can get it to its lowest point, then you can save a lot of lives. Monoclonal antibodies are a way to test people for like pregnancy, for illnesses, things like that. The way they work is you have, I believe, a pathogen, right? And this would be like a 6-mark question in an exam. So we have our big bastard pathogen. We have our pathogen, right? And we'll assume, so what happens is it is injected into a mouse. And this is for ethical reasons, but also because I assume mouses can be bred really quickly, which means, less resources wasted. So anyways, I don't know how I'm going to draw a mouse here. We'll draw like that. 2 ears. Mouse! That's our mouse. So it's injected into the mouse. And now, what's going to happen? We've just been injected with something. Well, obviously, your immune response is going to occur. And when that happens, those lymphocytes are taken from the mouse's spleen. So funny. It's taken from a mouse's spleen. So this is a lymphocyte, okay? They're taken, the things which make the correct antibodies. They are then combined with cancer. Sorry, I'm not laughing at cancer here. I'm laughing at the fact that my drawing of this mouse here. It's combined with cancerous tumours, which allows it to grow and divide rapidly. Human tumours, okay? So now that it's dividing rapidly, we're getting a fuck ton of these. I believe it's called a hybridoma, something like that. The concoction of kind of this cancerous lymphocyte. Then these are produced in the millions. Well, obviously trillion, like literally exponential growth, isn't it? You're gonna have literally that happening. But yeah, they are produced in the trillions, and then they are used in things like COVID tests, where if you have COVID, all the lymphocytes get triggered. Think about it. All the lymphocytes get triggered. If I have COVID, put it in something which is going to fight COVID, it's obviously going to fight COVID. If I don't have COVID, now it'll happen. So that's how it works, everyone. And that is higher content only, I believe. Right, what else should we do? Let's do preparing don't even know what you call it. A septic slide thing, right? So you have like your Petri dish with agar gel, which is nutrients for the pathogen to grow, bacteria. You would dip it in your bacterial solution. You would dip like a layer. But what you would need to do beforehand is sterilize it so that no other pathogens can kind of get in. You would kind of rub it kind of like this, like a kind of a, I don't know what you call that, a swirl? What's this called? I'll find out, but you would do it like that, okay? You would close it, you would make sure obviously it's sealed slightly, but not sealed completely, because then you're making bacteria that are anaerobic, able to respire anaerobically. And from there, what you would do is you would put it in, I guess, some kind of cooling thing. And you would make sure that this is about 25 degrees Celsius, because anything higher is not safe for schools. If you're breeding super powerful bacteria, that's why they always tell you to stay out of hot tubs. Because if you get a bacteria, obviously most of them are going to burn off, but the ones that survive are going to be heat resistant, and they'll be the strong ones. They're the tanky bacteria. So that's how you would do that. Okay. Now that's the biology that I'm the best at, I would argue. Digestion, on the other hand, bores the living shit out of me. It bores me to death. So let's make this quick. Okay. So, when we eat food, I don't know, like a whatever this is meant to be, like an apple or something, right? There are different ways that this is digested. Number one, your teeth. Teeth serve as mechanical digestion, because you're breaking it down into little bits. Next, you have your salivary glands, because these are chemical digestion, because they are producing enzymes. One such example is amylase or amylase, whatever you want to call it. I believe that breaks down sugar. I'm not too sure. Next, your esophagus is a long ass muscle, and what this does is it kind of slowly compresses the food. And I wrote down here that it's called peristalsis. I don't know. Apparently, we don't need to use that word. But yeah, it compresses the food. I put here that it squeezes the food, so it's mechanical. Okay. What next? I believe it's then your stomach. Your stomach has acid in. Hydrochloric acid. It's a pH of 2, so just as strong as battery acid, which fucking horrendous. Anyways, stomach acids and enzymes in your stomach will keep breaking that food down, and things like bile will do that, will break it down. Now, your stomach, believe it or not, has a lining in it. I don't know why I put it here, like here. Your stomach has a lining in, which will basically, what that does is it ensures that that acid doesn't, disintegrate your whole body. So when you throw up, that's why it kind of tastes acidic. I remember a random story here. Last time I threw up was like 2018 or something, right? Went to bloody Florida on holiday, and about, I think, day 7 or day 6, I was really ill. I threw up, and I ended up staying in the bloody hotel the whole bloody day. But the funniest thing was, while I was ill, there were about 20 people who came to make sure I was alright. And by that, I don't mean like family or whatever. No, I mean like staff and stuff. There were about 3 lifeguards, maybe 4, 5 ambulance workers, a police officer, maybe 2 staff workers, and maybe like, I don't know, I think it was a guy with a suit, so like a lawyer or something. Either way, about 10, 20 people, all like standing around me. Like, I feel like that's what America bloody is now. It's just stand around and be like, oh, if you're ill, you better pay up. Anyways, so your stomach has that lining. Most of the code like, well, serious. Don't know if I could do that. Right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Mum was calling. Right, anyways, your small intestine has villi. These kind of things, right? And villi are a bit like the alveoli. So if you get a question in an exam about villi or alveoli, just think, yes, lad, 3 marks. You want to talk about the facts that they have. So they are adapted to basically have sugar molecules. Small intestine brings the food into the blood. So The small intestine, these villi have a large surface area. That's what you want to talk about, large surface area. Basically, in kind of math terms here, that's a decent surface area. But if we broke it into there, that's more surface areas now, see? And if we kept on doing that to the point where it was microscopic, then that is a huge surface area. So you want to talk about a large surface area, and that means that it's able to absorb more. The villi have lots of capillaries in them. And capillaries, if you recall, are 1 cell thick, and they are designed to carry blood, but they also take ions, they diffuse ions in and out of the blood. But anyways, you want to talk about, in terms of this, how there is going to be a high blood flow at all times here, because there needs to be a constant supply of blood so that there remains a high concentration gradient. Or, no, sorry, not high, a strong concentration gradient. So yeah, the food goes in blood and it gets taken away. So there are also lots of mitochondria, and mitochondria are the powerhouse of a cell. They produce energy, not create. What's a better word for produce? They convert ions into energy? Don't know the definition. I just know it's the powerhouse of a cell. Yeah, it can't create. What's a better word for create? It's literally right in my head, but I can't remember it. Right, not produce. Why can't I remember? Produce. Generate? Generates just kind of produces, isn't it? Like, hang on, I'm gonna go get my biology book here. Hang on, it better be in here. Microscopes. Mitochondria. Energy is transferred. Respiration transfers energy that the cell needs to work. So I guess it uses release. I think that's it. Yeah, releases energy because of respiration. That's it. Anyways, this is what we were doing in Mr. Brown's lesson. But after this, we're going to do some actual unique stuff. So anyways, you have the large intestine, which removes the water of everything. And I think that's it. I think that's everything, really. That's like all the processes. But yeah, if you get this in an exam, the villi or the alveoli talk about a large surface area, talk about 1 cell thick, talk about, I guess for alveoli, you could talk about it being moist to be able to absorb more. Talk about, I guess for this, mitochondria, because it needs to do active transport. So yeah, very good if you get a question like that in the exam. If you get a fuck off question, fuck off. Alright, so let's do what we were doing yesterday. So I actually was muted while I did this part. So you guys actually wouldn't have heard shit about what I said. So, food tests. Food tests are fun. I remember we learnt about these in COVID, which is why I can just barely remember them. I was playing Fortnite Saber World while we were talking about these. Okay, Benedict's solution. What does that test? It tests sugar. The note to this one is that it needs to be in a hot water bath in order for it to work. And the product, I think this is really like cute. Red if it's high sugar, green if it's low. So literally a red to green scale almost. Iodine solution. Remember this from Kieran's bar, leaving Alex black and blue. starch, it tests for starch, and it goes black/blue if starch is there. Iodine, starch, black and blue. Honestly don't really remember the conditions for. I only remember Benedict's because it's kind of simple. The others, I don't remember the conditions. I believe most of them you just add it in. I don't think there's anything too specific. All I know is Benedict's is water. Let me go check my biology book to confirm whether we would need to know exactly. Top 10 oddly satisfying things. Whereabouts is it? Am I looking in the right bit here? I'm on to the genes now. Bloody hell. Unless you can. B for Benedict's reagent, page 32. Alright, here. Okay, Benedict's, yup, is the water bath. Iodine is you shake. Which, Kieran, I think that's perfect, right? Well, you add your solution to it. Yeah, so you add transfer 5 centimeters of your sample, add a few drops of iodine, gently shake, so and it will turn from browny orange to black and blue. So what I think is funny about that, it fits in with your bar more there, because if you're like shaking someone, you know, making them scared, making them black and blue, I think that works perfectly with your bar there. Starch, you shake it, black and blue. Sedan free, I don't remember, so I'll go check in a minute, but you use that to test lipids, I believe. And the reason I remember that is that there are 3 like L-shaped letters, so sedan free, in the word lipids. The notes I'll go back to in a minute. All I know is that it separates, so that if we have like our test tube here, you kind of have all this random shit in the bottom, but this layer here is red. Red top layer. That's pretty distinct. And then burette, I don't know how you pronounce it, is protein. And I believe that goes purple, because I remember it's purple protein. So I'll go check the notes for these two. Just to make sure, like, in case it's like, oh, how would you do this? It says, add the sample. Oh, all of them, it says gently shake. Okay, so apparently for sedan, you would also gently shake it. What about burette? Add a sample, gently shake. Okay, yeah. So all of them, you literally just add a sample, gently shake. Leave it for a bit. So we didn't even really need to put that. That's just part of the method. So I think that's good. So Benedict's is sugar. You need to put it in a water bath. Benedict's bath, I guess you could remember that as. And it goes from red to orange to green depending on how concentrated the sugar is. Iodine, like Kieran's bar says, used for starch, and it'll obviously be black and blue. Sedan is for lipids, and it'll separate to a red top layer. And burette is protein, and it goes purple. If you guys didn't know that, which I'll be honest, as of yesterday I didn't, I only revised this yesterday night, be sure to try and remember those little like goofy acronyms there, because food test, I have a feeling we will get a whole chunk of the exam in it. It'll appear paper 1, which means paper 2, Jesus Christ. If we're testing, if we get it in paper 1, that'll be good, because then we won't get it in paper 2. It'll only appear in paper 1, remember. So yeah, that's all good. So we've gone through infection and response, digestion, food tests. We could quickly go through mitosis, because this is one of the things that I did on day 2. So I obviously remember it. So inside the nuclei, you have your chromosomes, and they will replicate. That's step one. The nuclear membrane breaks down, and then the chromosomes line up in the middle. Then I believe fibers will pull them to each side of the cell. And as this happens, the nuclei will replicate. Then the cytoplasm and the cell wall, cell membrane, will replicate so that each side now has its own nucleus with an equal amount of chromosomes. That's kind of it, I think. Unless there's any details that I explicitly missed there, that is the way I remember mitosis. So it splits at the beginning, membrane breaks down. That's kind of it. What else in terms of biology could I do? I think that's honestly kind of it. Unless any of you guys have any topics that I know that you guys want to go through. I mean, we did... hearts. Let's quickly do the hearts. Because I'll be intrigued to remember if I can remember. Okay. That side you have the aorta. Hang on, that goes out. Okay, hang on. Pulmonary vein, aorta, pulmonary artery, and vena cava. I hope I've done that right. Then those are the atriums and those are the ventricles. And the heart contracts, which is how it's able to move this blood around the heart. I think that's it, right? Vena cava, pulmonary artery, aorta, and then it goes right-left. It's inverted on a diagram. Let me go check if that's right, because I don't want to spread it to you guys any misinformation. I think that's right. Yeah, vena cava, artery, aorta, and pulmonary vein. Let's go. I've remembered it. I memorized the heart. The way I remember it now is aorta is always on the left. And then you have your pulmonary vein because the blood's going in. Artery on that side because it's going out. Vena cava is just the odd one out. Right, is there anything else, guys, that you want me to go through? Because that's kind of it, honestly, in terms of biology. I think I want to do math now. So there was this question in the exam, the one we did in math, where it was like, A is directly proportional to B, inversely proportional. So the way you would do it, I think, is you would do that K over B. So when doing like direct and inverse proportion, you need to use K. So for example, if we said A is directly proportional to B, it would be A equals KB. If it's inversely proportional, that would be your equation. So if it's like A is directly proportional to the cube root of B, that would be your equation. And obviously you would work out what K is based on. So for example, if it said the cube root of 64, when A is 128, when A is 2, B is the cube root of 64. How will we do this? Well, the cube root of 64 would be 64, 32, 16, so that would be 16. Which means K must be 32, because 32 over 16 is 2. That's how you would do it. So direct proportion is something, inverse proportion is kind of this, inverse proportion is kind of that, a fraction. That's kind of all I wanted to say about that. If we had a line graph, I could do tangents as well here, because we just did them today. After that, I'm heading off, because I don't have anything else to do, honestly. But anyways, if we have a straight line graph, and it says the coordinates are 0, 2, and 4, we'll say 8, we'll say 8 4. Alright, so 2 points on a line, 0, 2, 8 4. And we need to put it in the equation y equals mx plus c. This is how we get the formula. How would we do that? Well, we already know the y-intercept because we've gotten 0. So you can plot that in. Y equals mx plus 2. But what is m? That's the only other bit you need. You only need m and c, really. How will we do that? Well, if you look, changing y over changing x. So our change in y is that goes to 2. That goes up by 2, and that goes up by 8. So 2 over 8, or 1/4. So our equation would be y equals 0.25x plus 2. Oh god, you had Simon as your cover? God damn. So that's how you would do that. Now, I understand I've explained that kind of vaguely, but basically, y equals mx plus c. That's all you need to know. Y equals mx plus c. Just remember m, just remember c. C is your y-intercept, and you can work that out even if you aren't given a coordinate with 0 in. And m is the gradient, which is change in y over change in x. Now, one thing I want to show you that I feel like is only like higher only, like grade 9, but I really want to quickly see if I can remember it, is, let's say we are given x squared plus y squared equals 75. Okay? That is the equation for the circle. So that's the equation for the circle. And let's say that the point of a tangent is 4, 9. How? Oh, hang on. I'll do this the other way around. 4 and 8, sorry. How would we work out the formula for this? Well, basically, the formula for a circle is x squared plus y squared equals that squared. So if we do the square root of 75, we can work out the radius. So let's just assume that side is square root of 75 as minus the square root of 75. So that's our little circle. Just imagine it's like to scale or whatever. Okay. Now, a circle begins in the middle. And in the middle of a graph, that is going to be 0, 0. And the tangent is 4, 8. So, hang on a minute. 0, 0, 4, 8. Those are our coordinates. Change in y, change in x. So 8 over 4. Our gradient is 2. So y equals mx plus 2. So I've done that wrong. Sorry about that. Mx plus c. We're doing m, aren't we? So y equals 2x plus c. Now, how will we work out the y-intercept? Well, that's actually relatively simple. You would just plug in these numbers, your x and your y. So 8 equals 2 times 4 plus c. And hang on, 2 times 4 is c. So actually the y-intercept is nothing in that instance. That's pretty cool. So that is kind of it in terms of math. That's what we did today after school. Linear graphs, like graphs where it's just a straight line. Obviously, there are ones where it'll be like a graph is perpendicular. So like 2 lines are perpendicular. This one is has a point 4, 8. If it's perpendicular, it means it is inversely proportional. And that's all I can really remember, to be totally honest with you. But if you get in an exam a question about, I don't know how the question will be structured, but if it talks about perpendicular or parallel lines, just literally do what I've just done there. Y equals mx plus c. And you can work out from one coordinate the other one using the gradient. So that's kind of it, honestly, guys. I am tired. Honestly, I've gotten a new bed and stuff. It's taken a bit of getting used to. Hopefully in a couple more days, I should be a lot more well rested and I'll be able to keep these streams going for longer. But remember the Google Doc. That is all I have to say. If you don't have access, send me an email or send me a message and request access, because that Google Doc contains every single topic I've ever gone through on these streams. And I've written up some kind of stimulus points, I guess you could call them, on information. So for example, in electrolysis, if you're struggling with that, like I know Bobby said she clicked on one of these streams and then clicked off because she clicked off because it was electrolysis and like she hates how complicated it is. Go on the Google, for God's sake, go on the Google document, okay? Go on the Google document. I've added little facts and stuff, like I use for acronyms, like OILRIG, PANC, and from there you can kind of pull your own ideas. You know, oxidation is a loss. You could talk about ionic lattice breakdown, things like that, like little points that are meant to obviously get you remembering key information. There's also timestamps and stuff on all of the streams, on all of the documents, headers, so you can click on the stream and find exactly what you need to do. That's me done anyways, guys. Thanks for watching. If I did help you, let me know. If I didn't, go on the Google document. I'm sure there'll be some insightful things there. Apart from that, I'm gonna go, I don't know, do some